on Saturday, May 18th, Aussies are going to be asked to go to the polls to vote in a new government. And Steph and I have both been thinking about this a lot recently, and we just wanted to have a chat about who we're voting for and why. So I am going to cover my small little electorate as what I want my direct, I guess, representative to do. And then we're going to talk about some bigger overarching policies that affect who we vote for.
Yes.
All right, so to go first, I'm in the electorate of Cowan, and last election I had a really easy choice. So there was the Liberal Party member whose name was Luke Simpkin, and I did a bit of a quick Google on him, and the first thing that comes up, outspoken social conservative. I'm clearly not. So he was one of 6 Liberal MPs to leave the House in protest to the apology to the stolen generation. He said Indigenous people are no longer denied employment opportunities, and he would again back children being taken in a situation if need be.
What?
Okay.
What a monster.
It keeps going. So he's attacked halal food, declaring in 2011 that by having Australians unwittingly eating halal food, then we are all one step down the path of conversion. And this is a step we should only make with full knowledge and not be opposed on unknowingly.
What a dickhead.
So, yeah, okay. He supports banning the burqa. He supported sleep deprivation torture as a means of gaining information. And he opposes same-sex marriage. So against him last time, this was the last election, against him last time was Anne Ali, my Lord and Saviour. I'm not going to go into too many details, but the basis is she's a Muslim woman who is a counter-terrorism expert. She's highly educated and she's very well-spoken. It was an easy choice for me to vote for Anne Ali instead of Luke Simpkins, and by golly, luckily he lost. Anyway, for this election, Anne Ali is up again, and this time she's up against someone whose name I can't remember, but basically the gist of him is he's a football team manager. That's his most relevant qualification to being a member of our parliament, is that he can manage a football team and knows how to work with children and people of minority communities. Anne Ali is still a counter-terrorism expert, and I am again voting for her.
That's an interesting one, because I find it interesting that he is more doing community work, and some could argue that...
No, yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. Whereas I do think she's more professionally qualified for the job.
Yeah. I'm not saying being a football manager is a bad thing, and I definitely think takes people of all types to be a functioning government. Like, there's been prime ministers that have been, like, not as highly educated, and, like, maybe that was a good thing. I'm not sure who they are, so I can't really tell you. But it does take all types, people from different backgrounds, but I don't think in this case working in the community and being a football manager necessarily gives you the qualifications to, run for government, I guess. And I think having knowledge around counterterrorism and other aspects is a pretty good endorsement. Yeah. So, yeah, that's and obviously there are other things, and there are other people running in Cowan who I'm not going to get into, but there are other overarching issues. So the football manager guy, whose name I probably should have learnt for this podcast, he's running as the Liberal Party member. And I overall just don't agree with the Liberal Party, so I probably would never vote for a Liberal Party member. If the Liberal Party member was a genuine counter-terrorism expert, I'd consider it. Yeah. But they're not, so I'm not.
Yeah.
And I think it's odd that the Liberal Party would... I don't know, maybe I don't understand politics, but you're going up against someone who's highly educated, highly qualified. Yeah. Obviously, they've done, a good job with everything. Why wouldn't you present someone of similar, I guess, stature against?
Maybe this is like the Liberal Party's wild card. Like they've got a whole party full of like very professional looking, well-educated people, and they're
but then
like
chuck one of them up against a current well-educated professional person. Like to me, it's not really I don't know. I would just definitely rather than someone who has a counter-terrorism background in Parliament.
Maybe they're trying to go for like the millennial vote and they're like throwing this one in the
But I think millennials are more likely to vote for a Muslim woman than they are to vote for like a straight white guy, because they're actually, that's just an assumption. I don't know if he's straight or not, but he's definitely a white guy. Well, I don't know. Most millennials I know are like, we need more diversity. We need more representation.
Yeah.
And a lot of the white men I know don't often believe that other white men representing them is necessarily for the benefit of the whole community.
Yeah. This brings me to who I'm voting for.
Yeah.
I use this handy tool by the ABC. It's called Vote Compass. And you basically go online and you take a little quiz. They give you kind of a few questions. I think it's like 30 questions. And you say if you like very much agree or you very much disagree. And there's a whole spectrum. And then they give you your results based on what you answer, and then you can weight those results depending on what kind of issues are important to you, and those range from like agriculture, education, energy, environment, foreign policy, gender equality, healthcare, immigration, Indigenous relationships, industrial relations, monarchy and security and taxation, and wealth gap and welfare, and that's all of them. So my results that I got where I was weighted 73% towards the Australian Labor Party and 70% towards the Australian Green Party.
And I think that's a pretty common result for, I guess, people in our age. And like I look at a lot of the people I'm friends with, and I think a lot of them would get that same result.
Yeah, definitely. I think some of the main things that were important to me that stood out were definitely education, environment, gender equality, healthcare, Indigenous relations, and
yeah, they're basically all the things I would peg for myself as like, if I had to rank them, they would be the top kind of ones.
I did notice something though that it's made me kind of stop and think about, was that I answered everything to do in terms of like weighting my results. I didn't really focus on like taxation, wealth gap, and welfare or anything like that. And that kind of made me stop and think, being like, oh, I'm actually very fortunate and I need to be more mindful of that. And I do think they're all very important things to focus on, but it's so hard when you're voting. It's so personal to
and there are so many issues. It's kind of hard, I guess, it is hard to rank them. Like for me, I think the environment is one of the top things, but then environmental policies probably aren't directly going to affect me, but differences in taxes actually are. So, but at the same time, I happen to, because it's interesting to me, know more about the environment than I do about tax and industrial relations, because that was an interesting one. I'm like, I don't care about industrial relations, but then I'm like, oh, probably should.
Yeah, you have to really be mindful. Like taxation, like for example, does affect me because I work full time and like I'm a baby and I'm like, I get taxed too much and I wish it was lower. But in the grand scheme of things, that's my biggest issue in my life.
But the thing is, I'm like, oh, I get taxed too much. I feel like everyone feels like they get taxed too much. But
I know, but in terms of like,
benefited from that. Like I've been on Centrelink.
Yeah.
And like, I'm so grateful for people that get taxed so that I could have that leg up.
That's true.
And also, like, I whinge about my tax, but then I'm like, I'm okay with giving it up because I've taken advantage of this, and I like our roads being paved, and I don't know what else taxes go to.
Yeah. So for that sort of stuff, I'm kind of like picking my battles. Like there are bigger things other than me and my like wish for more money so I can buy more clothes. Like it's just, that's my little classist stance. There's like bigger things in this world for me to focus on, and that's something that I'm taking into consideration going into this election. But unfortunately for us, our representatives aren't that. Like Flash, Bill Shorten, Scott Morrison.
Do you know what? Bill's all right. He's not great. He'll do. Do you feel quite informed?
Nah.
Yeah, I don't either. I always like get a bit worried when people are like, I'm very informed. I'm like, how can you?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't really read the paper, but I like read news online and I know about things. But even as you were just reading that list out, I was like, oh, okay, I know where people stand on environment. I know where they stand on same-sex marriage. And then there was a bunch that I was like, fuck, I have no idea where anyone stands on any of this. Like,
well, we would if Scott Morrison wasn't fucking talking about like how he just goes to church every Sunday and rather talked about his like position on foreign policy.
Yeah, but I think that's the job of a politician, is to dodge every question. And then you go by like their track record. Like, for example, an easy one, same-sex marriage is something we both or like know a lot about. We know based on the track record, the Liberal Party is not going to give us the representation we want on that.
Yeah.
So, and like Scott Morrison would never come out and be like, I'm against same-sex marriage. Well, maybe he has, I don't know. I try not to listen to him. But, but we know based on historical evidence what he and his party's policies on that.
Yes.
So when they're dodging the question, I think you can still work it out.
Yes. So if you're still unsure about who you should vote for, definitely check out Vote Compass. It's really helped me work out where I stand and where kind of like other parties like the Liberal Party and the National Party kind of sit on these issues, because I have my preferences already ingrained in me, and that is Australian Labor Party and the Australian Greens, and I kind of like tune the rest out because that's
I think we can all agree on one thing though.
Pauline Hanson.
Fuck Fraser Anning.
Okay. Well, and Pauline Hanson.
Yeah, but also especially Pauline Hanson, let's all hate Pauline Hanson. She's an idiot, but at least she's not propagating the final solution in Parliament. Like, good gravy, Fraser Anning. Fuck off.